So what do I got now? I got a problem with a Ford truck, F-150. It's an older one. It's got a 4.6 in it. And it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a common problem, but it's a known problem. And what happened was it blew a spark plug out. Now, when I blow a spark plug out, usually it takes the threads with it. I haven't looked yet. I don't know. So the guy apparently had somebody else look at it in his driveway. Now, this is one of my customers. This is from that customer that I do a lot of work for, and you've seen the ticking 5.3 video, and a lot of you have said, oh, you should still charge them. Well, no, this is why I don't charge them, because this guy sends me a lot of work. This is one of his workers. So he had one of his friends or somebody look at it, and they told him, hey, it took the threads out, because we tried to put a spark plug in, but it won't go in. There's nothing there, no threads to grab. So he brought it to me and asked if there's something I could do with it. Well, yeah, I think I can fix it. I can't guarantee it, but I think I can fix it. So what do we got? Let me show you. Walk in the shop here. So there it is right there. And when I started it up, I heard the noise, and it definitely had a misfire, but usually you get a very loud pop, 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 pop noise when they do that. I didn't really hear that. I heard the noise, but not severely. So check this out. He gets an A+ for ingenuity. So if you look closely, you see this rubber mat thing? This rubber mat is up against the fuel rail. Well, that's weird. You see what that is? What that is below it? That's threaded rod. He stuck threaded rod down in a hole. It's bigger than the spark plug, but he stuck that down in a hole just to kind of like seal it up a little bit so it wasn't making such a drastic noise. So like I said, A+ for trying. So now, I'm just looking because I see safety wire and stuff. There's just a piece laying here, but I see safety wire here. I guess that's holding the threaded rod underneath the fuel rail. It's the only thing I could think of. So let's listen to this real quick, just so you can hear it. It's not super loud, and then I'll start it up again after I pull the threaded rod out. There you go, you hear it? Obviously you do. But it's not severe. Like I said, usually these things are quite loud when they blow the plug out. Now, of course, I don't even know where the coil is. I haven't the slightest idea, so let me shut this down. I don't want to get it too hot. So, what I'm going to show you is how I would fix something like this. They make a repair kit, and you really have to know what you're doing when you do the repair kit, because you can damage the piston, you could destroy the cylinder head. I mean, the cylinder head's already destroyed technically, but I think I can fix it. So, let me get everything together. I'm going to pull this apart first just to see what's in there, and then I'm going to start showing you what it is I need to do, and what the tool is, and what the kit is, stuff like that, to do this job, and do it at least, the right way, in my book, the right way. And I've had very good success in the past with this. Never had a failure. So, all right, let's get this going and see what happens. So I cut the wire and I pulled this out, and it's actually a large bolt that he shoved down in a hole. Like I said, I'll give him an A+ for ingenuity. So now I have to get in there and I have to see what's going on. Oh, he actually put the spark plug back in the hole? Is that what I'm seeing? Let's see. Oops. Yeah, he actually put the spark plug back in the hole to hold it down. All right. So let me pull that out, and then this way I could see what's going on with the threads. And then, you know what? Once I have that out, I'm going to start it up so you can hear the difference, what I normally hear when these things blow apart. So I got the plug out of the hole, and this is what it looks like. Now, the reason it looks like this, it's not because it was hitting the piston or anything like that. The reason it looks like this is because when it blew out of the plug hole, it was hitting the sides of the landing where the shoulder goes. So it was smacking up against that, and that's what folded it over. You can just about see a witness mark right there, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, it's, if it was hitting the piston, this thing would be destroyed. It would be really flattened out. So it's not from that. It's just because the boot hooked to the coil. Since the coil is bolted down, this thing's just blown up and down like that. I did find a boot laying in there. So the boot is, very flexible. and it was just flexible enough to allow it to happen. So now I get to go down in that hole there and take a look and see what's going on. Excuse me. Now I just went in there with my little borescope. It's a Calvan Tools borescope, and it works through my phone. It works off of Wi-Fi through my phone. And what I did was I inspected the threaded hole, and yes, I could see that the threads are missing through 3/4 of it, because the spark plug doesn't go all the way down, you know, to the base of the head or inside the combustion chamber there. But now I'm going to add the video to this, but you're going to see in the video that you can actually see one of the valves open, and it's right in your way. So a couple of things you got to make sure of when you're going to do what I'm about to do with this tool and everything else. You got to make sure that the piston's not up top. It's got to be at BDC, not TDC. And you got to make sure that the valves are not open or that they're in the way, because the one valve is in the way. And if you put the tool in there, you're going to destroy the valve. So it's something to keep in mind. Now, hopefully I can attach this video like I should, like I think I can. So I'm going to do that right now. So now that you saw that video, you understand what I'm talking about. So now the next thing, what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to start this up with the plug out, or with that hole open like that, so you can hear how it normally sounds before people, you know, jam a big bolt down in the hole just to block it. And then also, here's the tool that I use. This is my borescope. Like I said, it's a pretty good little tool. It's cheap. It's not that expensive, in case any of you are interested. And it works very good with a smartphone. And you'll be able to see, you should have seen that in that video, that it does work pretty darn well. So I've been very happy with it. I've had it for a few years. I think I paid $70 for it. I don't really recall. So let's start it up, and then this way you can actually hear it, what it sounds like with the plug actually out of it. So you got the idea. That's what I'm used to hearing. When it didn't make that kind of noise, I was kind of surprised. So now what I got to do is, like I said, I'm going to make sure that the valves are closed and not in the way, and I'm going to make sure it's at bottom dead center. Because when I'm going to show you the tool in a minute, because when I go with the tool in there, I could, if I hit the piston, I could ruin the piston. If I hit the valve, I could ruin the valve. I've seen people do it. I've seen people ding the heck out of the piston, and it creates an unbelievable tapping noise, you know, because it's actually pre-ignition that's happening. Because it went with a hot spot on the top of the piston. So, all right, so let me do that. Let me get that set, and then we'll go over the tool itself and the kit itself. As you saw in that last borescope video, I did rotate the motor over. I got the valves closed and the piston down, so this way I can use the tool. What is the tool? Let me show you. It comes as a kit. You can get these at the parts store. Just got to know what your thread is on your spark plug. So here's the kit. This one they're going to call it a plug saver. There's a couple different companies that make these. And this is Howmet Aerospace, whoever that is. But whatever, it's the same kit I've used before. It works very well. Now, here is the spark plug that goes in the car. And I want to show you something. Let me show you what this kit consists of. Let me open this up. Now the kit includes this special tap. And what this tap does is it grabs any remaining threads that are in there. And as you could see in the video I showed you, that there are some threads left. So this will grab that, and then it's going to cut, and it's going to cut new threads. Now these are your inserts. You have a choice of inserts depending on your spark plug and your orientation and like how the cylinder head is made. Because some of them, you may only have a very shallow area and the spark plug may protrude, or you may just have a very shallow spark plug. So it just depends on what you're going to use. We're going to be using this deep one here. And let me install it on a spark plug. And why do I have this other spark plug here? Well, I'm going to show you that in a second. Let me thread this on there. And if you notice, you see it's got knurls up top. I'll explain that in a second. So let me thread this on here. So there it goes. It threads on very easy. It's a very loose fit. Not a loose fit, but it's, you know, because it's machined, it fits nicely. But now, these knurls here, what you do is once this thing's in place, you use this tool, and that tool will insert into the top end here, and you whack it with a hammer, and it'll actually peen the top edge out. And those knurls will grab the aluminum of the cylinder head even better and even harder to lock it in place. I do put some Loctite on these. Some of the kits tell you not to. I've done it, never have a problem. Now, what's my reasoning for having this spark plug here? Let me show you. Now this spark plug, if you look and you pay attention, you'll see that the width of the spark plug is a little bit thinner than that actual sleeve that's going in there. So the possibility of, because you use a spark plug as the installation tool, the possibility of driving this down in the hole even further is that you can do it. I mean, it can be done that way, and you don't want to. You want this thing to stop where it's supposed to stop. So if you accidentally put this thing in, you can actually drive this thing all the way down to the lug end here, you know, where the socket fits. You can do it. I've seen it done. And now this thing would be protruding, or it could even fall inside where the piston is. And then what? You got a big problem. So what you do is you take this off, and you take a spark plug like this, and as you see, the spark plug actually overhangs. So now this one will not allow that to drop in too far. Now the reason for me putting a dab of Loctite on there too is to hold that thing in place. Like I'll thread the plug down and I'll let that thing sit for about a half hour. Then I'll take the plug out. I also put anti-seize on the plug to help it release from the sleeve. Now the sleeve, as you see, will bottom out, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, that this thing will stop on the aluminum of the cylinder head because of that ledge. Now, when you get these spark plugs too, obviously you just want a throwaway spark plug. I saved this. I've had this plug for years, and I've used it numerous times. A lot of these spark plugs come through with one of those crush collars, one of those little gaskets. Just take the darn thing off. Don't leave it on there, because that's just going to add aggravation. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tool, because like I said, I already got, as you saw in that video, I got the piston down and the valves are out of the way. I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to liberally coat it, get that so it doesn't fall, coat it with wheel bearing grease. Basically, you're going to pack the flutes with wheel bearing grease because you're cutting into aluminum and you're going into an open cylinder. So at least with it being packed with wheel bearing grease, it's going to collect all the metal filings, or at least most of them. So once I get that done and I get that in and cut, then I can clean everything up, and that's when I can install the other piece. Now before I ever start this thing too, what I'm going to do is, when I have the spark plug out of the hole, after the insert is in place, I'm going to crank this thing over, or even start it for a second and let it blow out anything that's caught up in the threads. So let me get that going. Let me show you how this works. So I realized the tool with a socket on it wouldn't fit, because the head of the tool, where the socket has to go, was actually larger than the hole that the spark plug goes in. You know, the tube part of the cylinder head. So I had to modify the tool a little bit. I had done this before, and I had this tool somewhere. I can't find it. I know I have it somewhere. I just can't find the darn thing. So this is what I did. I took the bolt that the customer had sticking in the hole there, and I actually welded it to the tool. So then this way, this will fit down there. Now, is it perfectly straight? No, it's not. It's not perfectly straight, but it doesn't matter. It's going to catch, and it's going to go, and if this end is doing this as I'm tightening up on it, I just go with it. That's all. Because this end's going to go straight, and it's going to go straight in the hole. Now, what I did do too, just so you can see to verify that the piston's not up, I took a long screwdriver, and like I could feel right at this point here, it's hitting the ledge of the spark plug. So now it's going to go and go and go and go and go. There, the piston's all the way down. It may not be completely down, but it's down enough, and I know the valves are not open or in the way. So now let me glob this up with some wheel bearing grease and start to go in. Now you can see the heat marks from where the heat penetrated through, and I didn't let it go too far, because if you think about it, down here, this is the cutting point all the way down here. So it started to blow it up here a little bit, but I kept cooling the tip down, so it kept cooling upward. And I didn't want to cool the whole thing off and make this brittle. And God forbid it snaps off in there, then I really got a problem. So I don't care about it being up here. That's fine. It probably dulled these up or weakened the top ones up a little bit, but I really don't care about that, because the cutting part is happening down here. So like I said, let me get that globbed up and let me get this ready to go in. So there it is. It's all gobbed up with wheel bearing grease. I got the flutes packed with it. And I'm going to start it off with this little tiny ratchet. And the reason being is because I want to make sure everything's going in centered and straight and whatnot. So let me get this started in a hole. Basically what you do is you just drop it down inside and you try not to hit too many things in the process of going down there. And actually I don't have enough room to move this, so what I'm going to have to do is just get an extension on this. Let me do that. Alright, so there we go. So now let me get down on top of there. And like I said, you want to go gently to start with. And usually you can feel it catching the threads. And you try to get it going as centered as possible, obviously, because once it starts cutting, it's cutting. So right there I can actually feel it already started cutting. So now the other thing too you got to be mindful of is the cutting part is so deep, and then you have like a shoulder that's below the cutting part. So when you feel this thing cutting as it's going in, once you feel it's not cutting anymore, stop. Stop, because if you keep going, you may drop this thing down into the cylinder too far. And then what? Try to get it back out. That's not easy. I've done it. I've actually gone too far. It's going past the threads, and then trying to catch it to back up, that's a pain. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so what I'm trying to show you here is the process of me doing this. So, like I said, I'm still using the small ratchet because I can feel it going in, and it's cutting as it's going in. So that to me is a good sign. I feel it going. And you can feel it cutting through the threads and creating new threads. Now when it gets to the bottom where the old threads are, it's probably going to get a little bit tighter. I may have to switch and go to the other larger ratchet. But let me see. Just want you to get a general idea of what I'm doing here, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing and my big head's not blocking you. And sometimes what I'll even do, if I feel it going awry possibly, I'll stop and pull the tool out because I just want to inspect it and see what's going on. But this one feels pretty good. You know, hopefully this works. The guy's at a point where he said, you know, if it comes down to it, what's going to cost to put heads on it? So I told him, at least I'll try this. Now I have to switch. This is just getting too tight. So let me do that. All right, and now all of a sudden I'm feeling it not, there we go, it's not cutting any new threads now. Let me go just a little further. It's basically free spinning in there. All right, so I'm good with that now. And like I told you, it may happen with the closer you get to the bottom where the old threads are. I kind of anticipated that happening, me having to switch to the larger ratchet. So let me take the tool out. And I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. My welding, you know, of course, it's not perfect straight on to it. I didn't have any way of figuring that out. So it does this. It wanders around in a circle a little bit because it's not perfect. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. And I tell you what, it's humid as all get out again today down here. All right, so that comes out. And there you go. Oops, I'm sorry, there you go. Wasn't sure what you were seeing because I wasn't seeing the camera. So there it cut out all of those threads. And you know, hopefully you kept most of the aluminum filings in the tool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to blow that out. I might actually start it up and do it. But let me go that route and see what happens. Let me pause this for a minute. So I decided I'm actually going to start it up and let it blow out whatever's in there. So let's see what happens. Not sure if anything actually came out, but let's see. I made a short borescope video, which I'm going to attach now, or at the end of this clip. And then what I just did now, I ran a rag down inside the hole to try to clean up as much as I could. I put it on the end of a screwdriver and I shoved it down in there and pulled it back out. Try to clean up as much as possible. Now I just blew some brake clean down there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up again and let that blow out. Now, if you're ever doing something like that, you're spraying brake clean or any kind of cleaner down inside a motor, make sure you don't have a spark source. If you have a spark source, you could be in for a world of hurt there, because you could wind up with a little flamethrower for a moment there, and it'll spray flaming fluid everywhere. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're using flammable brake fluid, brake clean, or carburetor clean. I use that a lot too when I'm doing this. So just keep that in mind. So now I got the sleeve on the plug that I'm going to use to put this in place. As you can see, I have red Loctite on it, liberally instilled on there. I also have anti-seize on the threads of the plug. Now this collar, this sleeve is actually loose on the plug. See that? When you're screwing this down, do not use a ratchet or anything like that to tighten it in place. Screw it down until it stops. Unless you feel the knurls hitting, if you feel the knurls hitting, then go with like a small ratchet until you feel the knurls stop hitting. Because you don't want to torque this down into place, and then you got to worry about the stupid thing not coming out correctly. Because you go to pull this thing out, it might pull the threads back out with it, and then it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you solve this issue? So, all right, so let's get this installed. And like I said, I'm just going to do this by hand. There. Can you see inside there? Let's look. It don't look bad. I cleaned out all the grease and stuff like that, as you saw in that scope video. So let me get this down in place now. Let's see if I can get this the way I want it. Just doing it by hand. And if the knurls start to hit, you'll feel it. Because it's not like, right now it's going real smooth, and I'm spinning it with my fingers. Spinning it in with my fingers. I don't know why I'm having such a problem speaking English lately. So that feels like it just stopped. So now I'm going to leave that sit for about a half hour. Hopefully there's not too much grease in the threads, and that should settle in place. So let's do that, and let's come back to this in about a half hour. All right, it's been about 30 minutes. Let's unscrew this and see what happens. Do we have an insert still on there? No! Look at that. Okay, perfect. I've had it where it fought me to death, and I had problems after problems after problems. Like I said, if you used the spark plug that's supposed to go in there with that tapered fit, you're going to have a problem, so don't do it. So yeah, yay me. Excellent. I'm happy with that. So now what I have to do is I have to take this tool, and this tool has to go down in the hole. Right there. This tool has to go down in the hole. And what happens is, if you look, see how it has that beveled piece at the end there? What happens is that'll spread out the very top of that insert that I put in there, and it'll keep it locked in place. So let me get this going. I'm running into a similar issue as I did with with the tool, with the thread cutting tool. I couldn't get a socket that actually fit quite right into the hole. Like, I couldn't get it to fit in the hole. I found this 12 point that just fits over the end of this piece like that, and now I could drop this thing in place. I got to figure out, I'm going to probably put something in there just to like lock the two together, like maybe a piece of paper or something. All I did was I folded some paper over and just jammed it in there to make a friction fit, so now it just won't fall out. So then what you do is you stick it in the hole like that, and you'll feel it kind of go into where it needs to go into. And you wrap the top of that a couple times with a nice little hammer. You don't want to go nuts. You don't want to sit there and like beat the heck out of it, you know, like you're trying to drive a stake in the ground. Just, you know, hit it a few times, you know, good swift hits. This way it'll spread out that insert. I'm not going to use like a killer dead blow. I got my small little dead blow here, and just like that. That's all you got to do, and then pull the tool out, and that's it. The tool is out, so that thing should be spreading in place, and we should be good to go by putting a regular plug in there and then putting a coil in it, and we should be good. So there we go. We're going to put the plug in, and we're going to torque it to spec. As you can see, it's the correct plug that's supposed to go in there. It's already got a little bit of anti-seize in the threads from the installation, so that should be good enough. Oops, let me turn the light on. So now, never drop the spark plugs in the hole. I know people that do that, and kind of like that. Don't ever do that. I can't believe it didn't lock. Let me just double check, because what happens is you can actually peen over the end. Oh, look at that. I got some of that stuff on there. But that looks okay. Yeah, you want to try to avoid doing what I just did. That's why I was using a locking extension, but I guess the lock isn't really holding it. So now you lay it down in place, and obviously you start threading it by hand, and you can feel it going in nice. There, it just bottomed out. So now we torque it to spec. So, okay, so that's all on. So now we're going to put the coil on, and then we're going to fire it up. See how it is. I got to put the air cleaner back together because that's got the Maris air sensor in it. So let me get the coil in place and then clean all my tools up, and we'll go from there. We're all together. Coil's in place. Air cleaner assembly's back on. Everything seems good. Let's start it. You're going to find out if this worked same time I do. A lot of times that grease builds up in the cylinder and stuff like that, and it doesn't fire right away. That's why you get that. Plus, a lot of times the fuel might have been in the exhaust system, could have contaminated or blown back up into the intake and slightly flooded it out. That's why that happens like that. So that should be all good. I'm going to clear the codes. I'm going to take it for a road test and see how she does. All right. Well, that was a successful road test. I went on my 8-mile road test like I always do, and everything felt great. No misses, no stumbles, no nothing. I felt fine. I have no idea what the mileage is on this truck. The odometer's broken. You can't read it. So I'm assuming it probably has a ton of miles, like most of these trucks do, that these contractors have. They usually have a ton of miles. And I keep them on the road for him. So he was anticipating, or he was preparing for having to do cylinder heads. And I always tell them, let me try this first. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to go another route. 99 times out of 100 it works, but I always sell it as a temporary repair because I'm not a machine shop. The heads are not coming off and going to a machine shop and getting a repair that way. This is a permanent repair, but I never tell them, yeah, it's a permanent repair. I do that to cover my own butt. I learned that a long time ago in other shops too. They used to do the same thing. They would tell people it's not a permanent repair, but it is. Anyway, so I hope you got something out of that. Hope you learned something. If you like my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. If you could, please tell your friends to subscribe. It would help me out a lot. So that's about it for now. Hope you guys have a great day. Keep wrenching.